Hi there, welcome back. You're stuck in traffic. Meeting starts in 10 minutes. Your mind races through excuses, apologies, consequences. Meanwhile, the one thing that could help, accepting what you can't change, never crosses your mind. This is the pattern that creates most human suffering. We fight reality. We argue with circumstances. We try to control things that don't respond to control. The result isn't just stress, it's a complete waste of power. The Stoics identified a line most people never see. Everything in your life falls on one side or the other. Things you control and things you don't. Master this distinction, and you reclaim your energy. Ignore it, and you'll spend your entire life exhausted by battles you were never meant to fight. This is the dichotomy of control, and it changes everything. So, let's get started. 1. The line that changes everything. Most people operate without a map. They treat their boss's opinion, their partner's mood, and tomorrow's weather as if these things respond to worry. They don't. Concern doesn't change outcomes. It just creates the illusion of influence. The dichotomy of control draws a precise line through your life. On one side, your choices, your effort, your responses, your character. On the other, results, other people's thoughts, your reputation, external events. The first category is your domain. The second is not. This isn't about giving up. It's about fighting the right battles. When you confuse these categories, you end up like someone trying to control the wind by shouting at it. Loud, exhausting, pointless. Here's what you actually control. The decision to prepare for that meeting, not whether it goes well. The choice to communicate clearly, not how someone interprets your words. The discipline to train consistently, not whether you win the competition. Your integrity in a situation, not whether others recognize it. Here's what you don't. Whether you get promoted, whether someone likes you, whether your flight gets delayed, whether people understand your intentions, whether the economy crashes. Most anxiety comes from mixing these up. You treat controllables like they're fixed. I'm just not a morning person. While treating uncontrollables like they're within reach. If I just worry enough about this presentation, it'll go perfectly. The Stoics saw this backward thinking everywhere. People neglecting their character development while obsessing over their image. Ignoring their daily choices while fixating on distant outcomes. The result was guaranteed suffering. The dichotomy of control isn't a coping mechanism. It's a diagnostic tool. It shows you exactly where you're leaking power. Every time you feel anxious, frustrated, or helpless, you're probably trying to control something outside your circle. Every time you feel clear, purposeful, and grounded, you're operating within it. This distinction doesn't limit you. It liberates you. Because once you see the line clearly, you stop wasting energy on the 90% of life you can't control and start mastering the 10% you can. That 10% is where all your actual power lives. 2. Why your brain fights this truth. Your mind resists the dichotomy of control because it feels like surrender. If you can't control outcomes, what's the point of trying? If you can't guarantee results, why put in effort? This resistance reveals a deeper confusion, the belief that control and influence are the same thing. They're not. You can't control whether your business succeeds, but you absolutely influence it through your decisions, your work quality, your adaptability. You can't control whether someone loves you, but you influence the relationship through your honesty, your presence, your growth. The dichotomy doesn't tell you to stop influencing. It tells you to stop pretending influence is guarantee. Your brain evolved for survival, not peace. It learned that hypervigilance kept you alive. Worry felt productive because it kept you scanning for threats. Anxiety seemed useful because it prepared you for danger. In a world of predators and scarcity, this worked. But now your nervous system treats a critical email like a physical threat. It responds to social rejection with the same chemistry it uses for mortal danger. And it convinces you that controlling uncontrollables is possible if you just think about them hard enough. Epictetus saw this trap clearly. We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. The email isn't the problem. Your belief that you can control your boss's perception by worrying, that's the problem. The rejection isn't the wound. Your conviction that you should be able to guarantee approval, that's the wound. Modern psychology confirms what Stoics knew. Anxiety disorders share a common pattern: overestimation of threat plus underestimation of coping ability. In Stoic terms, focusing on uncontrollables while ignoring controllables. The cure isn't positive thinking, it's accurate thinking. When you stop trying to control your boss's thoughts and start controlling your work quality, anxiety decreases. Not because you're avoiding reality, because you're finally seeing it clearly. If this distinction resonates, hit like. It helps this reach people who need it. The dichotomy of control isn't pessimistic. It's the opposite. It says your well-being doesn't depend on things outside your control. That's not limitation. That's freedom. 3. How to practice the split. Understanding the dichotomy intellectually does nothing. You need a practice that rewires your automatic responses. Here's the method Stoics actually used. Morning mapping. Before your day starts, list what you'll face. For each item, ask, what part of this do I control? Meeting with a difficult client. You control your preparation, your honesty, your professionalism. You don't control their mood, their decision, their opinion of you. Write both columns. The left column is your responsibility. The right column isn't. This isn't semantic. It's surgical. You're training your mind to automatically categorize events as they happen. Real-time intervention. When you notice anxiety, pause. Ask, what am I trying to control right now? If it's something outside your circle, someone's reaction, an outcome, a circumstance, you've found the leak. Redirect to what you actually control. Your response, your effort, your character in this moment. A practical example. You send an important message. Your mind immediately starts, will they respond? What will they think? Did I say that wrong? Stop. You controlled the message, its clarity, its honesty, its timing. You don't control their response. Trying to control it through worry is like trying to control yesterday's weather. Impossible and exhausting. Evening audit. Before sleep, review your day. When did you feel most anxious, most frustrated, most powerless? Trace each feeling back to its source. You'll find the same pattern. You were trying to control an uncontrollable. When did you feel most grounded, most effective, most clear? You are operating within your circle of control. This audit isn't self-criticism. It's pattern recognition. You're learning to see the dichotomy in action, to recognize the feeling of fighting uncontrollables versus mastering controllables. The practice sounds simple because it is, but simple doesn't mean easy. Your brain has decades of training in the opposite direction. It's learned to obsess over outcomes and neglect process, to worry about reputation and ignore character, to control everything except what actually responds to control. Your choices. Consistency matters more than intensity here. 5 minutes of honest categorizing every morning will change your life more than 5 hours of reading philosophy. Because the dichotomy isn't a theory to understand, it's a skill to develop. 4. Where this shows up in modern life. The dichotomy of control appears everywhere once you see it. Work, relationships, health, parenting. Every domain has the same fault line between what you control and what you don't. At work, you control your preparation for the presentation, not whether people are impressed. Your consistent output, not whether you get promoted. Your professional development, not whether your boss notices. Most career anxiety comes from obsessing over the promotion while neglecting the skill development. The promotion is outside your circle. The skills aren't. In relationships, you control your honesty, not whether someone stays. Your growth as a partner, not whether they appreciate it. Your communication, not how they interpret it. People destroy relationships trying to control the other person's feelings, thoughts, and choices, all uncontrollables, while ignoring their own behavior, the only controllable. With health, you control your training consistency, not whether you achieve a specific physique. Your nutritional choices, not your genetics. Your recovery practices, not your age. The fitness industry sells control over outcomes. Get six-pack abs in 60 days. When you only control inputs, what you eat, how you train, whether you rest. In parenting, you control your values, your example, your presence. You don't control who your child becomes. This is terrifying for parents because we're taught that good parenting produces specific outcomes. It doesn't. Good parenting provides environment, guidance, and love. The child controls their response to those things. Marcus Aurelius, leading an empire, reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He commanded armies, ruled territories, influenced millions. And still, he knew the boundary. His mind, his character, his responses. Controllable. Everything else, including the empire's fate, uncontrollable. Social media has made this worse. Now people try to control their image across hundreds of digital interactions. Impossible. You control what you post, not how it's received. Your authenticity, not your viral potential. Your values, not your follower count. The dichotomy shows up in every moment of every day. The question isn't whether you'll face uncontrollables. You will constantly. The question is whether you'll waste energy fighting them or redirect that energy toward what actually responds to your will. 5. What changes when you get this right? The transformation isn't subtle. When you internalize the dichotomy of control, your entire relationship with reality shifts. First, anxiety decreases dramatically, not because life gets easier, but because you stop creating imaginary problems. You don't worry about whether the client will sign. You focus on delivering excellent work. You don't stress about whether your partner is happy every moment. You focus on being honest and present. Anxiety lives in the gap between what you want to control and what you actually control. Close the gap, eliminate most anxiety. Second, your effectiveness increases. You're no longer splitting attention between controllables and uncontrollables. All your energy flows toward what actually responds to effort. Athletes call this controlling the controllables. Business people call it focusing on inputs, not outcomes. Stoics just called it wisdom. You prepare better because you're not distracted by worrying about results. You communicate more clearly because you're not trying to manipulate reactions. You work more consistently because you're not demoralized by outcomes outside your control. Third, other people's opinions lose their power. Not because you become callous, but because you recognize opinions as uncontrollables. Someone thinks you're arrogant, outside your control. Someone misunderstands your intentions, outside your control. Someone spreads false information about you, outside your control. Your reputation is always an uncontrollable. Your character is always a controllable. When you focus on character and let reputation follow, you become immune to the social anxiety that paralyzes most people. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is burdensome if taken lightly, and nothing need arouse one's irritation so long as one doesn't make it bigger than it is by getting irritated." He's describing the dichotomy in action, the external event, uncontrollable, therefore light, your response to it, controllable, therefore where the work happens. Fourth, resilience becomes automatic. When outcomes are uncontrollable, failure loses its sting. You didn't control the outcome anyway. What you control is whether you prepared well, whether you acted with integrity, whether you learned from the experience. Those are always available, regardless of results. This isn't detachment. It's proper attachment. You're attached to what's actually yours, your choices, your character, your effort. You're detached from what was never yours, outcomes, opinions, circumstances. The result is a life that feels lighter, but accomplishes more, because you've stopped fighting the 90% you can't control and started mastering the 10% you can. 6. Your next move. You now see the line. One side, your choices, your responses, your character. The other side, everything else. The question is whether you'll live according to this truth or continue ignoring it. Here's what happens if you ignore it. More wasted energy on uncontrollables. More anxiety about outcomes you can't guarantee. More frustration with people you can't change. more exhaustion from fighting battles you can't win. The same pattern, year after year, until you've spent an entire life trying to control things that were never responsive to your will. Here's what happens if you apply it. Immediate clarity about where to focus. Dramatic reduction in anxiety. Increased effectiveness in everything you do. Freedom from others' opinions. Resilience that doesn't depend on external circumstances. A life built on what's actually within your power. The choice is yours. That's the ultimate controllable. Start tomorrow morning. Before you check your phone, before you start your day, make 2 columns. Left, what I control today. Right, what I don't control today. Be honest, your work quality goes left. Whether your boss appreciates it, goes right. Your communication goes left. How someone interprets it goes right. Then live according to those columns. Pour energy into the left, accept the right. When you notice anxiety, check. Am I trying to control something in the right column? Redirect to the left. This practice will feel uncomfortable because your brain has been trained backward. Comfort isn't the goal, clarity is. The dichotomy of control is the foundation of everything Stoicism teaches. Master this, and you've mastered the core. Ignore this, and nothing else matters. Thank you for watching. If this changed how you see your challenges, subscribe to Stoic Horology for more philosophy that actually applies to modern life. Drop a comment sharing which area of your life needs this most. Work, relationships, health. Hit like if this resonated. And share this with someone who's exhausting themselves trying to control the uncontrollable. The line is drawn. Which side will you live on?